Hi, I'm Carla Ondrasik, and I'm about to have a productive conversation with Mike Vardy.
Carla, thanks so much for taking the time to join me today for a productive conversation.
So happy to be here.
I am holding in my hand my iPad, and on my iPad, I have the book Stop Trying: The Life Transforming Power of Trying Less and Doing More. And Carla, first off, r- one of the things that as we kind of had some preamble before we hit record, is the word trying has, just like the word time, just like several words in the English language, have several definitions, right? And some of them are paradoxical, right? Like, some of them, like close and close, spelled the same, very different meaning. Like a closer and a closer, those are relationship oriented, but they come from a different angle, those kind of things. When we're talking about trying in this idea of the book, a lot of people, when they are faced with all of the things that they need and want to do, that can be very trying for them, especially in a world that's vying for their attention and pulling them in multiple directions. But that's not what we're talking. We're not talking about that definition in this book. We're talking about, and you mentioned this off the top, the Yoda-esque kind of thing, like do or do not, there is no try. So what what was the impetus for you? First off, that word, that relationship with the word try or even trying. What was that like for you, and what was the impetus for you to say, "Hey, I need to take this and help people who are trying to make their way in the world through trying."
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not talking about semantics, not, I'm going to try to take a sip of my coffee with you. That's a very small action. I'm talking about big ticket items that require commitment, that require the work. So we're not talking the semantics of trying. We're talking about things that affect our health, our happiness, our relationship, our careers, our hopes, and our dreams, big things. So I'm triggered by the word try. Like,
Hmm.
when I hear it, all I'm hearing is this half-hearted kind of an excuse. The person's really not going to do it. I'll
Right.
try to get back to you later. I hear it very differently. It sends off alarms in my head. And I've put myself in a lot of situations. I tend to really enjoy having to do or do not. So one of my big careers was in the music publishing business, where it's massive competition and you can't try. You're going to either, if you try, you'll die. If you do, you're going to hopefully give yourself the better odds of succeeding, which I did. Um, it's kind of fun for me to really highlight this word because nobody else has. Me and little Yoda seem to be the only two things on the planet that, do or do not, there is no try. But no one has really stopped to say, why? Why not try? So it was my left to me. Nobody else was writing the book or bringing it up. And so I get to have the fun job of doing that now. And the reason is because I want everybody to win. I really want to bring to our attention, our conscious level of awareness, what it means to try, because we don't really know.
It's like the word busy, right? That word gets people's, they get their shoulders, it's tension and all that stuff, because when you hear the word busy, it's almost dismissive. Is that, like, again, a word is so powerful, especially over time, in that it can do that. Like, to me, and this is, I think you allude to this, is this idea of, well, I'll try. It feels as if it's an acquiescence or a way to say, if I don't get it done, it's not because I didn't try. I didn't give it any attention, effort. Like, all of these things, I think, are transformative from going from this trying mindset, which can be trying. Here we go. We're gonna get all wordy here to the doing mindset. Where does the being fit in between all of this? So if because do or do not, there is no try, right? Uh, where do you think the idea of someone being productive, or in that term of getting from the trying to the doing to the being, if they skip the
Yeah.
trying step, do they get closer to that? I mean, you've got a lot of accomplishments. I've gone through your bio. We've talked a little bit before we hit the record button, and also those who are listening know a little bit more about you as well. How does the elimination or a better relationship with trying transform you from this just person who is doing productive to somebody who's actually being productive and tapping into that kind of identity, so to speak?
Okay. So, first of all, like I mentioned earlier, becoming aware of what it means to try.
Hmm.
So, right now, many people are unintentionally fooling themselves. They're saying, I'm trying to write a book, trying to start a podcast, trying to make a doctor's appointment, with the dermatologist because I haven't gone in a year or two. What they think they're doing. So, I'm just going to go backwards for a minute.
Hmm.
The dictionary definition of try is an attempt or an effort to do something. But really, it is a half hearted attempt or an effort to do something. And I'll maybe kind of sort of do it later if ish I feel like it.
Yeah.
And trying allows you, the reason that it's half hearted is because it opens the door and gives you this beautiful little, very alluring safety net where you can incorporate excuses. I tried, but I forgot what time it was. Or the excuse would be, I tried to get there at 9 o'clock, but I thought we were supposed to meet at 10 or something.
Hmm.
And then you can also bring in blame. Okay. I tried to get here at 9 o'clock, but the line at Starbucks was so long. It took me forever to get my coffee. So I'm late. And we try because we want to have zero accountability because there's no consequences. I'll try to get back to you. I'll try to show up. If you don't show up, oh well, they only said they would try. Okay, now here's the switch. When you say I will be there at 9 o'clock, okay? If I told you, like, who's your favorite athlete? Who would you like be dying to meet, Mike? Who would you
Oh,
love?
David Robinson is the first one that comes into my mind. David
David
Robinson.
Roberts.
Yeah, from the Spurs. Yeah,
Okay.
the San Antonio
Okay.
Spurs. Yeah.
So if he said, look, I have time to meet you between 8 o'clock and 8:10. I need you to be here at 8 o'clock and we can hang out and have, some nice conversation. I'll be on your podcast, whatever it is. You're not going to try to get everything ready by 8 or try to be there. You will be there. Okay. So there's zero accountability, excuses, blame, half hearted. When you're in try mode, you are not really giving it your all. You're not doing. And there's zero action for doing, believe it, for trying. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, I do this try test. I'm just going to do it quickly for the
Hmm.
sake of time. But, okay. So, touch your nose. Okay. Touch your nose. That's doing. Okay.
Hmm.
Do not touch your nose. Now we're not doing. Okay. Try to touch your nose. You can't do and you can't do not. So, like, let me see what there's no action for it. There's no action for it.
Yeah.
Trying is a mental activity, doing is a physical, strong, determined action. And I vote for everything in our lives to give it your strong, determined action effort. Don't half heart it. And the saddest thing is that we really do walk around believing that we're doing when we're only trying.
Yeah, it's interesting because the other thing that I think accompanies doing versus trying is a level of urgency versus importance, right? So for example, you gave me the example you gave me about David Robinson. Number one, you asked me a very important question. Who is the person? So that's important. The urgency is around the time, but it's not really urgency. It's a false sense of urgency, right? Because I knew I would have to be there at 8 o'clock. It's not like, oh no, I just found out last minute or whatever. I think this is where some of that conflation shows up, right? Where it's like, uh, oh, well, I'm going to do because I have no choice but to do instead of, so it does force you. It's a forcing function when you eliminate trying, and you call it in part 4 of the book, which you divided up really interesting. We've kind of gone through this, the idea of what does it mean to try? Why do we try in the first place? We're going to go into some of the examples as why we even go down this path, how
Mhm.
trying holds us back, example, if I did not, if I don't have maybe a time associated with meeting David Robinson, then that would be one thing that could hold me back unless I have something concrete. But then the idea of a no try life, which I really like the idea of it, because what you're doing is it's very similar to when I talk about, and you're taking the ball of trying, going, I'm going to fight this word and what it's become and what it is in our society today. I'm taking up that mantle. For me, it's productivity, because productivity is broken too. To say, like, I'm going to because productivity is about quantity more than quality at this point in our history. And we need to have balance there. So when it comes to, and we're going to jump to a bunch of different places in the book, because that's what a conversation does, is the no try life. What are some of the first steps someone can take in their mind? Because this is where we're starting to get to the place where they can even think about living a no try life.
The first thing is, well, you got to buy my book. So
Yep.
the first thing is to become aware of what it means to try, which is, what does it mean? Why do we do it? How does it hold us back? It's really kind of like it's a blessing and a curse, because once you know, it's like, oh, I can't try anymore. Now I know what a loser word that is. So the first thing is to become aware.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondly would be to start small. So you think about, what is the one thing in my life, a little tiny thing that I've been trying to get around to doing? Okay. So is it the junk drawer in the kitchen? Is it the glove compartment that doesn't close anymore? Is it delivering finally the clothes that you meant to donate, a year ago, that's still in a bag in the garage? Okay. Pick one thing you've been trying to do and go do it. First, ask yourself, why have I been trying to do it? Well, I don't think it's important. I'm lazy. It's going to take, I am already anticipating traffic getting there. Whatever the reason is, you just override and go get that thing done. And what happens is that feeling of, oh my gosh, it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. It took half the time than I thought it would. And it's not in my garage anymore. It's gone. I love this. Or the junk drawer is nice and tidy and neat. My glove compartment is so clean. Like the adrenaline, the dopamine, the serotonin, those hits you get of really feel good neurotransmitters attack your brain, and you feel amazing. And you know what happens? You want to go do the next thing. Now I'm going to go clean under the kitchen sink, or under the, or the pantry, or what, I'm going to clean my whole car. So living a no try life is becoming aware, starting small, and noticing the people around you, how much you say the word. We say it 15, 20 times a day, and other people say it to you. I'll try to show up for you. Let me try to do this. I'm trying to do that. So it's really awareness, and then just stepping into that action slowly, and your whole life can change.
Ambiguity, I think, is one of the biggest problems with trying as well, right? Because it doesn't have, like you said, it doesn't have any action associated with it. And it doesn't just hurt others when you say, like, because a lot of this we've talked about is the commitment to others, right? Like, hey, I'll be there, I'll try. It almost, you mentioned one of the excuses, it almost gives us the feeling of being productive because we're committing to so many things, as opposed to like half-assing him, right? Like half-heartedly committing. And it's vaporware, like it's and McConaughey in that movie where it's like it flies off, it's nothing, it doesn't exist, from Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Whereas to remove that word from your vocabulary, and I think you're right. I mean, as I was going through the book, the one thing that I think is going to be challenging, because we've been brought up to, hey, just give it your best try, just try, like, and that's how we're taught, right? Like, hey, just give it a try. Try this, try that. Skiing, good example. I should mention to this off the top. We're going skiing for the holiday weekend. We're recording this before the Christmas break. A few years, I remember going skiing as a kid, and I know that this is not exactly. This is a good example of making a decision around trying anything. When I was in grade 8, we went on a field trip, and this is back when I was going to school in Toronto or near Toronto, and we went to a ski hill. Now, the ski hills in the Toronto area are nowhere near what they're like out here out west, right? If you've ever been to the Toronto area, you have to drive a ways to go to get to anything that remotely looks like a ski hill. I was they took us on a ski trip. They gave us lessons, snowplow, all that. I just failed endlessly. I watched enough TV to know that, oh, well, I don't know what to do. So I had in my head, you just tuck your arms underneath the ski poles and you go down. Like, no, you don't do that unless you're skilled. And I would at the bunny hill, I would crash into the catch-all fence at the bottom every time. But I couldn't escape it because it was part of a field trip. Fast forward to 3 years ago. So this is like 30 years down the road. My family wants to go skiing. My son's never skied before. My daughter likes skiing. My wife has skied. We go. My son picks it up like nothing on the hill. We're taking lessons again. I continuously, I'm a bit better now. I'm wiser. I'm not trying to go down the hill at 100 miles per hour. I'm trying to snowplow, but I'm eating snow every time I go down, to the point where the instructor's like, "Do you mind if we get ahead of you and then you can catch up?" I'm like, "No, please go." I went up the little ski, almost like escalator thing. See, I don't even know what they're called. I go down one final time, and I say in my head, if I don't get this done right, I'm done. Like, this is, quote, my last try or attempt. And maybe that's the term that should be used, as an attempt rather than try, because try
No,
is so big.
it actually sounds like you were doing it. You were going
Yep.
up and you were going down,
Yep.
maybe not correctly, but you were
Yep.
doing it.
Yes. And so and what was interesting is, because I committed to it's either this or that at this point, after many instances of doing and not getting it right,
Yeah.
I just decided, I ate it one final time. I literally took the ski escalator back up, went into the trudged right into the rental room 2 hours after we got them, returned them. They're like, "Really, already, sir?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm done." And it was during COVID. So nothing was open, like the ski restaurant, like where you would go to have a beer or
Yeah.
whatever. You couldn't get in there unless you had you weren't allowed to lounge. So I sat in the snow making little tiny snowmen for about an hour and a half while I waited for my family to come back. And you know how I felt? Amazing. Not because I was sitting there
Yeah.
it's because I finally, like, I had done everything I could and decided at that moment, number one, I am now at an age where I don't have to do this stuff if I don't want to.
Yes.
Secondly, it is, you don't, and this is the ultimate, why I'm saying this is, ultimately, and David Allen said this, we can do anything, but we can't do everything. And I knew that at that point, I'm not, unless I dedicate more attention, effort, energy to this practice of skiing, I'm not going to get any better at it. So
Yeah.
I was willing at that point. So it's the doing that is the only information I had. And remember, it was a 30-year time span to know that I don't ski. I am not, you talk about identity. I am not, it's not just I am this person, but you know what I'm not? I'm not a skier. And that eliminates some of that, right?
Absolutely. Okay, there's so many things I can say about that story. So, first of all, the only way to find out if you are going to do something, if you're going to be successful or not, is to do it. Okay. So you over the span of 30 years, as a child and then as an adult, you kept doing it and giving it a good shot and going through the motions and getting in the snow, getting in the skis. And then finally you realize this isn't for me. It's the same thing for the author who's been writing their book. The author that's trying to write a book, until you finish that book and you put it out into the world, you're never going to know if it was successful or not. So okay, so just because I say, don't try, do, it doesn't guarantee success.
Right.
And it guarantees you a better chance of success. But I also say it's better to decide not to do something than to try to do it and fail, because Like for, when you fail, if you're trying to be that author, but you never finish the book, because you're just in this constant state of trying, you're not taking the strong determined action, you're not putting in the time and the work, but you're trying to write a book for 10 or 20 years and you keep talking about it, then you get regret. Okay. Then you start feeling all the negative things, the low self esteem, the negative self talk, the regret that you didn't do it. You plunged head on into the snow. You actually decided this is not for me. Okay. And guess what? If you would have kept trying, you might have broken a leg. You might have gotten hurt. You would have
Hmm.
been miserable. You might have started getting mad at your family. Like, I'm wasting all this money. I'm buying all this equipment and I really don't like doing this. But instead, you just said, you know what, guys? I'm not doing it. I'm not going to try anymore. And you just eliminated all of that bad, icky stuff. And you can apply that to every aspect of our life, everything that we do. If we're trying and we're not doing it, it's better to decide you know, like I always give this silly example when I go on vacation. So I'm very health oriented. I actually am one of the few people that love to work out. I love to eat healthy food and I'm really good about it because it's something I love. And so I would say to myself before we went on vacation, I'd check out the hotel. Oh, do they have a good gym? And I'd look at all the menus and I'm like, I'm gonna try to eat healthy and I'm gonna try to keep my routine going. And then you get to on your dream vacation and you want to sleep late. Like the last thing I want to do in this beautiful hotel room, this tropical island, is wake up early and go to the gym. And then when, dinner comes and the fruity, beautiful drinks around the pool, I'm going to get the fruity drink. So, but if I said I was going to try to stick to my diet, then every day of that vacation, I'd be like, ugh, I feel so terrible about myself. I said I was gonna work out. I said I wasn't gonna eat the yummy desserts. So now I just say, forget it. I am not sticking to my diet. I am not working out. And I get to go have the best time of my life. Okay. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
try because that's gonna fill me with all these horrible feelings when I'm not doing it. I'm just not gonna do it. And I'm gonna eat everything and I'm not gonna work out one day. I'm gonna have so much fun enjoying my vacation.
You know, as I'm thinking about the background you have with music, and I can't help but have Rick Rubin come to mind when I read The Creative Act: A Way of Being,
Amazing.
because I mean one of the things he said, and I mean he's been interviewed multiple times, and I mean I really enjoy his work, is when he says the audience comes last. That to me is very indicative of the kind of stuff like you're talking about to a great degree, because I mean looking at an artist that is enjoying the process, right? Like you can tell who's loving what they're doing when they're performing and when they're putting it out there versus those that don't, because they are trying to follow the fold, right? And we know, I mean, I used to work in college radio. I've done some acting and seen, both sides where people are like so enthusiastic. They're like, this is so great that I get to do this. Not that I get to try this, that I get to do this. And then there's others that are not so enthused because they are doing, they don't necessarily get to do what they want. It to me, it's very interesting that when you hear someone say like the audience comes last, that almost feeds the idea of doing rather than waiting to see what the audience might like. And this goes back to your like the point of when I'm going skiing with my family this holiday season, I don't need to please them. I don't need to, they know. Is people pleasing one of the biggest, to me, it seems like it could be a huge prayer around this idea of compulsion with trying over doing.
Oh my gosh. When I do my speaking engagements, this is like the favorite, most usually women, especially. I devoted a whole chapter to it in the book.
Hmm.
We do not like to say no. Okay. We do not want to be the bad guy. And that's a huge reason we offer to try. The friend that has the fundraiser and they say, will you come on Thursday night to this fundraiser? I'll try to make it when you're not going to make it. But we can say, well, I'll try to be there. I'll try to do it. We think that it's kinder, gentler, softer to say, I'll try instead of no. But the truth is, It's kinder to you, it's kinder to them when you are honest. Like, we think they're gonna fall apart and crack if we say no. And I have an exercise in the book where you actually have to say no a couple of times during the week and feel it and own it. And you can be kind about it. You don't have to say, no, I'm not doing that. It's like, no, thank you. Please ask me the next time you're having, a fundraiser. But it's basically like, I know that on Thursday night I'm going to be exhausted and I'm not going to have the bandwidth to make it. And I hope that you have a successful evening. Please invite me the next time. Now, what happens is that person looks at you and says, wow, now they're being honest with me. And I really appreciate that. And the night of the event, they're not looking at the door thinking, well, Carla said she was going to try to show up. Maybe I'll wait 10 more minutes before we
Yeah.
start. I'm going to save a seat for Carla because she said she'd try to be here. I'm going to have that red wine that she loves because I know Carla loves this Cabernet. They're not thinking about you. Now they get to go on about their night. And you get to go home and not think, you know what? I said I'd try to go. I could go. I should go. I'm going to run into them tomorrow and see them. And what am I going to say to them? You get to go home and curl up on the couch and watch TV and have your hot tea and not even worry about the evening because you said you wouldn't go. It's twofold,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And the other thing is that if you are wishy-washy and say, I'll try enough times, eventually you don't get the invite.
You lose respect from people. Yeah, you become
There's
someone they can't count on.
the other thing that's interesting about this is that part of the reason, and I mean, there's lots of research around this too, especially when you're looking at things like CBT, is the reason that we try to people please is because, and we can't stop. One of the reasons is we think we are so important that if we don't say we'll try, that's actually a side effect of that, is to say, well, I better like that way they are expecting, and I'm, if I don't go, then it's not going to be a great time. So I'll say I'll try, and that way, like, there's all these confusing elements there where if it's
Yeah.
like, frankly, we're not that important. No matter who we are, we're not that important.
That's a whole nother book.
But it is, so how do we break? And by the way, what I loved about the way the book was constructed, not only exercises and stuff, but this is, and when I talk to a lot of authors about their books, most say you could pick it up where you need to be, and so on and so forth. This book very much feels like, and I guess it depends on where you're at, you should read it sequentially, because
Yes.
you can't. Well, explain why you should read it sequentially. I think I know why, but I'd love to hear why you believe that it needs to be read in the order it's presented.
Because it starts out with, what does it mean to try? That's what we need to lay the foundation. And then you get the understanding, okay, now I understand what it means. And now, why do you do it? Well, we're taught to try, okay? We don't like to say no to people. We fear success. We fear failure. We try. So that now you've got, okay, now I understand why I do this, okay? So what does it mean? Why do we do it? Now, how does it hurt us? The next chapter is this awareness of, oh my gosh, when you say you're going to try to spend time with your kids, why would you half heart that? Why would you try to spend time with your? So now when you get to that chapter, you're like, oh my gosh, I know why I did it. And now I know what it means. And I know how it's hurting my relationships, my career. I'm going to try to close this deal. My mindset is soft. And then finally, it's all the trailblazer tips and I have soulful solutions, which are more, I'm not going to say spiritually based, but they're more earthly, like the power of silence, which can relate to anybody. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I think you have to understand it in layers. And then by the end of the book, you close that book, which, by the way, is written, it's not a very long book.
No.
It's something you can open up on an airplane and close, and you've got the whole idea, the what, when, where, why, how, in a very short amount of time. And you get to close that book and go, I get it. I got it. I'm inspired. I'm excited. And I see how that hurts me. And now I want to go share that with my kids, because the generation of trying and weak mindset and wanting things quicker, easier, faster, better, is so predominant right now. It's amazing. It's like a superpower. So that's why I think you should read it sequentially.
Well, and you bring up silence. I think the other thing that makes sense, especially when you're trying to break a pattern, because that's really what you're trying to break, this pattern that has been so deeply
No,
ingrained.
you have to break the pattern. You're not trying to.
Fair.
You
See,
are
there you
going
go.
to
See,
break it.
yeah. So there you go. See, it's so deeply ingrained that it just comes up in conversation, even when you're talking about the very thing.
Even when you're talking to the author
Yeah,
of the Not Try book.
Exactly. But I think you bring up silence, and I believe that the way it's divided up, part one, part two, if you were to take some moments of stillness and silence between each, that is how this transformation can take place as well. Why is silence either in between each part to kind of make sure that you're fostering that awareness and harnessing what can come from that? Why is silence and stillness such a powerful proponent of keeping yourself from trying?
Okay. So when I was writing my book, there were a lot of people that had no idea that I was doing it.
Yeah.
And what that did was it protected me from anybody's opinion. People could have said, Carla, you've never written a book before. You don't have a big following. You're not this big self-help guru. And it really might have affected me. I don't want the negative, the people that might be jealous and giving me, negative comments, the people that loved me and want to protect me. Are you sure at this stage of your life you want to spend all this time? Do you know how hard it's going to be to promote a book? Do you know, I don't want to hear any of that, because that's going to put me in the half-hearted hesitancy. I might not do this, all the negative things coming in. So number one, I protect myself from anybody else's opinion, and I keep all the power to myself. And as far as accountability, if I'm not, some people need to say what they're going to do. I'm doing this, and they need the outside accountability where they're building that in. I said I would do it, so now I'm doing it. I'm not the kind of person that needs that. I need to be accountable to myself.
Right.
And so if I say I'm going to do something, that's enough for me. And so by being silent, the power of silence is just, it's so incredible for so many reasons, but mostly it protects me from any outside information. And there's nothing more fun than telling everybody, guess what? I wrote a book, I got an agent, and I got a publishing deal. It's coming out on September 23rd. They're like, what? I mean, the people that are doers, the heads of companies, the CEOs, the presidents, they're not telling everybody what they're doing, about the deals that they're maneuvering, about the thoughts they're having about merging with another company, or they're busy doing it. They're not sharing it. They're keeping and holding all that power. And boom, you'll find out when it's signed, sealed, and delivered. It's powerful.
Well, and I think one of the things that I love is when musical artists just drop an album unannounced.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like, wait, what? And it's people like, why wouldn't they and you hear this too. You're like, why wouldn't they promote it? Why wouldn't they put it out there? I'm like, because I get it too. It's that part takes away from the effort, energy, all that stuff that could go into the doing of the making of the thing, as opposed to, like, one of my favorite drops ever was The Lonely Island dropping the Bash Brothers thing on Netflix a number of years ago. It was just like, they just dropped it out of nowhere. And it's like, holy smokes. And what did I do? And what did their fans do? They gravitated towards it. They let the groundswell of the people who were able to actually see the thing and go, we don't have to wonder when it's going to show up. We don't have to pre-order it. We don't have to, that drives me nuts. I imagine, as an author myself, like, there is this tug of war between tell everyone what you're doing so that way it builds groundswell support. You're like, hold up though. If I do that, it's pulling me away from the act of crafting the book, which, as I feel the same way. It's very interesting because there are two ideas around this. Shout it from the mountaintops that you're doing this so you get support, but it does come with all those other things you discussed. And then the other is, which keep it to yourself, keep your goals to yourself, because that way you can intrinsically motivate. And you're right, you don't fall prey to the, are you sure you want to do this? Oh, don't forget to do this. Or, it allows you to stay in flow, which, you don't get flow from trying. You don't get flow from
Yes.
trying.
Yes, you did, yeah, and I mean, of course, I incorporated, I had an editor, helping me. The
Yep.
people that were part of the party, it was like our little top secret group, but,
Hmm.
I mean, have you ever run into someone who you haven't seen in, like, 3 or 4 years, and maybe they lost 30 pounds, or maybe they changed in some significant way, or someone wrote a book, you're like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even," and you just think, well, like, wow, I had no idea you were doing this because they're busy doing,
Yep.
because they're busy losing the weight, getting in shape, getting healthy, writing the book. When you're doing, you're busy. When you're trying, it's so fun to talk about. And there's actually um, a reason. So it's the person at the party that's talking about, well, I'm rebuilding the car in the garage, or I'm writing my book, I'm writing a screenplay, I'm trying to start a business, I'm trying to buy a new house, I'm trying to build a house, because they're getting little tiny hits of the dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline, because you're tricking your brain. But guess what happens? They come back to the same party a year later, you know?
Hmm.
How's that book? I'm still trying to figure out a blah, blah, blah. How's the boat or the car that you're restoring? Well, we're trying to find the parts. It's all the excuses, all the blame. And that's the person that's trying, that's talking about it. And for some people, that's enough. For some people, they just want to appear like they're busy. They want to fool themselves into thinking they're doing. But it really has collateral damage. It will cause the negative self-talk, the low self-esteem, the depression, insomnia, and it's just not worth it, you know? So pick and choose what you wanna do. Stop talking about all the crap you're trying to do, and do one thing. Finish it, complete it, and then do the next thing. And you will be full of, I'm about to do an Instagram about a Christmas gift, right?
Hmm.
What's the best gift you could give to someone? Self esteem, confidence, success, right? A great mindset, a better chance at having what they want. Take that try word out of your vocabulary. And that's the greatest gift you can give yourself. It's like a secret weapon. And I'm just going to say one more thing
Sure.
is not only does it affect our own behavior and our own outcome, you can actually redirect the outcome of someone else to your favor. When they say they're going to try to get back to you, I do this all the time with doctors. Like, say I go for my physical and maybe there's a weird blood test or whatever, and they say, well, we'll try to get back to you by the end of the day. I'm like, okay, will you or won't you get back to me today? Because I know I'm going to be freaking out until you call me, and the minute they flip their language from, I'll try to get back to you, to, all right, Carla, we will get back to you by 5 o'clock today. Their brain is now redirected. They've now said the words, I will do it. And they're more likely to do it. I
Yeah.
won't accept try from people. I can't accept a try. It's just not enough for me.
I want to nerd out more about the Jedi, Yoda, and Qui-Gon Jinn and how they approach that and all that stuff. Because I mentioned, because in my book, The Productivity Diet, which came out this year as well, I talk about like the idea
Congrats.
of thank you, of how Jedis aren't black and white. Like there's nuance there. There's lots of nerdy stuff that we can get into, and there's so many things that you go into in this book that we touched on, but obviously didn't go deep into because we want people to pick up the book, and the book is called Stop
Stop
Trying:
trying.
The Life Transforming Power of Trying Less and Doing More. Carla, thanks so much for being here today. Where can people pick up the book and keep up with the work that you're doing?
So you can get the book everywhere. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. My website is stop-trying.com. One of my most fun things that I've discovered I like is Instagram. So it's just at Carla Ondrasik. I give literally 7 days a week daily hits and reminders and situations and instances. And just will bring to your conscious level of consciousness, like what trying is all about. I'm about to record like 18 of them today after this call. It's really fun. And I just want to say I'd love to come back and nerd out with you anytime. I could talk for 50 hours on the subject. There's so much to say. So yeah, that's me. And oh, the book is on audio. It's anywhere you can find it in any way, shape, or form.
Carla, thanks so much for having a productive conversation with me today. Appreciate it.
So much fun. Thank you so much.